DJ Stories è ancora in viaggio. Questa volta alla scoperta dell'universo delle etichette discografiche e delle città che le ospitano. La musica elettronica è sempre in viaggio e noi con lei. La nostra prima tappa è Londra. In questa puntata saranno nostri ospiti, fra gli altri, Too Many DJs, Danny Rampling e Kevin Saunderson. Parleremo con etichette come Fat Cat e Honest Jones ed entreremo alla ex Ohio con gli Italo Boys. Ma adesso è arrivato il momento di scoprire Londra.
You got to be high, plus high for the next era. Proper introduction, fluctuating the vocalization at warp speed. Style with this child of rhythm produce loose. Literature sure to receive screens of encores for iPlass tour pleasure in the form of freestyle on file for the 9-pound, etc.
Arrivati in una città come Londra, per prima cosa è bene capire come muoversi. Questi i nostri consigli di viaggio.
I mezzi pubblici londinesi sono tra i più costosi al mondo. La metropolitana, però, rimane il mezzo migliore per spostarsi nella capitale britannica. Con una travel card potete andare dove volete per un'intera giornata. Se vi piace guardare la città dal finestrino mentre vi spostate, i tipici bus a 2 piani fanno per voi. Altrimenti, soprattutto la notte, meglio affidarsi ai caratteristici black cabs.
La prima tappa del nostro itinerario è Honest Jones, indie label fondata tra gli altri da Damon Albarn, Mr. Blur e Gorillaz. La Honest Jones nasce come negozio di dischi per poi diventare anche etichetta.
The store opened in 1979. I've been working here since the 80s with my friend Mark, and in the early 90s John, the original owner, Honest John, got out of the business and started doing other things, and we took over. So Mark and I own the shop, have done for about 20 years. Mark and I started the label in 2001 with a customer who's got to be a friend of ours called Damon Albarn. And it was kind of Damon's idea. He said he was into the store just as the sort of music we were selling and where we were, what we were doing, and was excited by the sort of energy and the musical vibes. And he just kind of one day casually said we should start a label and put stuff out ourselves because we're so close to it here. Let's do it. Everything changed, around the time of downloads and Amazon and iTunes and iPods and all that. So everything changed, and so you had to reinvent. If you had a record label in the 90s, you would expect to sell 5,000 12s of an average release. Nowadays, people make 500 total. They write the number on the back. They maybe sign them. They hand print the sleeve. They pack them up and they send them sell them on a website themselves. We do all the packing, all the sleeving downstairs here. So it's more like a kind of old-fashioned, small-scale cottage business. The big days have gone, but it's fun, it's interesting, but I think you just have to be prepared to do everything yourself. Vinyl, it sort of expresses the heart of the music in a way that I find difficult to explain. But if we took the records out of this business, I think we would not have as much fun because it's great making a record, and also our customers would not really enjoy it very much. We really care about artwork and covers and So hopefully they'll enjoy holding, you know, buying a record and seeing something as well as listening to something, and yeah, that it connects with something in their lives.
A Londra non sono di casa solo i suoni nuovi della Honest Jones, ma anche pionieri della house music, come Danny Rampling. Rampling è uno di quelli che ha preso la house music di Ibiza negli anni '80, trapiantandola a Londra sotto forma di acid house. Con lui abbiamo fatto 2 chiacchiere nel suo studio di registrazione.
I guess it was an introduction to me hearing house music in 1987 in Ibiza. I think we all were. We were all absolutely amazed by the openness and the spirits of the music. So as a result of that experience, we came back to London and I created a club called Shoom, which was really the blueprint for the acid house movement in the UK. It was probably the first of its kind, and that was really the template where the whole rave scene followed after that. It was a small club for 300 people. I'd struggled for to be a DJ for 7 years, and that really was my break professionally. The club scene of London today is very healthy. There's so many different things going on in London. London is an epicentre of cool and multiculturalism, and its club scene reflects that. There are great underground clubs. It used to be Soho was once upon a time the underground. Then it's moved to Old Street and Hoxton, and now it's, you know, Dalston and further out east, and Hackney are cool places to go clubbing in London. There's a real underground scene in London. I think, you know, the whole thing over the last few years has shifted far more back into the underground style of clubbing in London, and there are so many great events. You can go out clubbing in London on Friday, and you could still be clubbing on Monday morning. I've been involved with radio for many, many years. I started out on pirate radio in London as an unknown DJ on Kiss FM in the 80s, and then I progressed on Kiss when Kiss became a legal station, and then I went to the top of the radio tree at the time, which was BBC Radio 1. Radio is an important medium for music, particularly for dance music, and the great thing about radio now is the rise of digital radio, where anyone can set up a radio station now, which I think is so exciting. There's so much choice and variety on radio. It's very different playing in a club to, you know, 1,000+ people than sitting in the radio studio, but they're both very different roles. Radio is very enjoyable because you're building up a connection on a personal level again with the audience by speech. In the club, the rapport is on the dance floor, and the energy that yourself as the DJ and the audience create in that room, and that feeling is addictive. That's why we're all still here doing it, you know. It's why the Rolling Stones are still on the road, you know, touring as a rock band, because they love the vibe of that connection with an audience. It's highly addictive, and I'd say it's one of the biggest thrills of anything that you can do in your life.
La scena londinese è sempre viva, sempre accesa, sempre attiva. Per acquistare gli accessori giusti per una serata in uno dei 1000 club della città, l'indirizzo è questo: Cyberdog.
My name is Izzy, and I am the store manager of the Cyberdog shop. I manage about 30 staff, so it can be quite difficult, but basically I'm overseeing everything within this store. So I'm doing some buying for the company, doing the merchandising, planning the schedules, and making sure that our staff are giving the best service that we can to the customers, and making sure the shop looks fantastic. a lot of people of different ages. I mean, our clothing can be seen as quite young, but some of our customers are like in their 50s, 60s, so it's a real kind of variation. We have a lot of international customers and a lot of them can't get here to this shop, so we sell 99.9% of our product online. If you want to go out and party, then there's lots of different things to go to. I mean, a really good party, if you like kind of the darker side and a bit more fetish, is Torture Garden. Torture Garden's quite famous in London, and they do some amazing parties. They have one coming up which is for Valentine's Day, and yeah, they're pretty kind of spectacular parties.
Il nostro viaggio nella Londra delle etichette è appena iniziato. Tra poco scopriremo la Fat Cat Records e ascolteremo uno dei padri della techno, Kevin Saunderson. DJ Stories è a Londra, in cerca dei nuovi suoni dell'elettronica. Per non perdere tempo nel traffico caotico della città, c'è una sola via di uscita e ha due ruote.
My name's Umut. I've lived in East London for around 11 years. I'm a filmmaker and a sound designer, and I ride a Bianchi. You know, the best way to see London is on a bike, so follow me. Walk for me, 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 walk for me.
In una città come Londra, i luoghi curiosi non mancano. Noi abbiamo scovato un cinema di lusso dal nome che ci suonava molto familiare.
We specialise in a luxury cinema experience, so you come in, we're 100 years old, so the building is one of the oldest, I believe, purpose-built cinemas that remains in Europe. We serve food, high quality food, drinks. You have a big leather chair, you put your feet up, so it's about the surroundings create an air of elegance and luxury. We have a really mixed bag. I mean, obviously in the area we're based in, we have a lot of celebrities that live in the area, so on any night you can have anybody, you see all sorts of people come in, but then people travel from all over the world.
Il nostro viaggio nella Londra elettronica continua con la Fat Cat Records, etichetta capace di scoprire gruppi come i Sigur Rós, ma anche l'elettronica più sperimentale. Ne abbiamo parlato con Alex, uno dei fondatori.
Fat Cat Records began as a record shop back in 1989, born out of the acid house explosion in the late 80s in England, and in 1996 we had the idea of expanding from a shop into a record label. We kind of started out with electronic music, the first couple of releases, then we moved into a kind of hybrid hip-hop 12-inch, then we moved into a noise 12-inch, then we worked with our first band. We wanted to introduce vocals into it and songwriters, so, and we wasn't so much worried about who was buying the records at that point.
Just like we found it. Well,
beginning. I was quite well known for DJing, and the fact that I was out in the clubs playing 3 or 4 nights a week and running a couple of pretty successful clubs meant that those kids that came out and enjoyed themselves on the Friday night were queuing up, having not been home, outside the shop on a Saturday morning to come in and buy the records that they'd heard the night before. So, whereas nowadays, I think I kind of oversee the label in general. I A&R a number of acts on the label. I also look after the legal, contractual obligations and whatnot. I mean, it's changed a lot now over the last 10 years, the way in which the industry works. So, you know, and it's evolving all the time. Things are changing. Whereas you used to only be able to sell a CD or a vinyl that contained the music, with downloads and the way in which you can present those, you can almost sell anything you like. You can sell a t-shirt with a download code. You can sell a silkscreen print with a download code. You can sell a book with a download code. So there's numerous ways in which you can now package up and sell music, which 5–10 years ago you couldn't.
La Fat Cat è ufficialmente domiciliata a Brighton. Noi ci siamo andati per entrare nella sede operativa dell'etichetta.
Hi, my name's Dave Cooley and I'm one of the directors of Fat Cat Records. A typical day at Fat Cat for me, I mean, I look after the internet side of things, the digital side of things. So for me, it's mainly based at the computer, and it is for everyone now. You know, a lot of our time is based at the computer. You know, it's emails, it's working on our website, it's working on social media. We sell our music online, obviously. We have a digital distributor who services various online retailers around the world, and we also distribute and sell our music physically, you know, as well. So we've got worldwide distribution. You know.
Try as a single, and there's space there for the Breton once you've got the artwork.
Yeah, the only thing with the Breton, with the Twilight Sad, is we're not selling the 7-inch separately yet.
Ah, okay, so that doesn't need to be there.
Yeah,
okay,
and maybe here you can put Twilight Sad bundles. I don't think vinyl is consigned to the past. I think vinyl has got a future too, without a doubt, you know, and it's been really wonderful to see the kind of explosion of vinyl, and then the sales of vinyl dropping off dramatically, and then the kind of rise again to its a kind of steady level, you know. And there's real audiophile collectors out there, people who really want the aesthetics of a packaging, they want to be able to hold something physical, and vinyl sounds better. The music industry jumps on people so early, you know, and they don't have a chance now with the age of technology. One of the things that isn't so good is that everyone's on it really quickly. So there's no chance for a scene or a style or a band to evolve. Everyone's on it within an instant. And a lot of the times, bands haven't had a chance to go out and practice and kind of learn their craft by going out and playing live, you know. And you go and see some of these bands, and they're just not very good, you know. They're just not very good.
Tra le infinite serate londinesi dedicate alla musica elettronica c'è la mitica Bug It Out, che proprio in quei giorni organizzava il Bug It Out Weekender. Ospite del Bug It Out era Riton, DJ inglese che fa parte dei Carte Blanche, gruppo sotto contratto con la prestigiosa etichetta francese Ed Banger.
Carte blanche means white card or blank check, which meant like free to do anything you want, because there's your money, or there's like an open piece of paper, go and write or paint what you want on it. Ed Banger is one of the best record labels in the world, I think, because it's got a great look and good artists, and it's like it's got something catchy to it. There's too much like techno and house music. There's got no face and no image, and I think like the best electronic band ever were Kraftwerk, and they had such a good image, you know, and they had really good music, and that's when it's beautiful. Like you have the two synergy of visual and music, and then it becomes something awesome. In the beginning, there was Reton Time's a label that I've sort of started to put out my own music on, and a few other things. I've got a lot of like stuff lined up for this year. I think Reton Time will be like a label, but it'll also be like a production thing and sound, and it'll be like other people can join in, and I'll do collaborations with people, but then it might end up coming out on a bigger label just to get it to more people, but it'll still have the Reton Time imprint sort of thing. I don't know like how people make money from music other than playing live shows these days, but record sales are very small. Like sometimes you get some checks, but I don't know how like a band would support themselves. It's kind of sad, really, that it's not enough money for people who don't have a name to go and play at a festival and make some money. Like, so it kind of encourages people to make stuff like cheaply, and I don't think that's great for music, but I think it's just how it is. So people have got to adapt. It's hard to tell if a record label will still be around in 10 years. I don't know how it could possibly exist in 10 years. Like, I don't think there's going to be any money going to them. I don't know. I really couldn't tell you. If I knew the future, I'd be a millionaire.
A volte basta citare un solo nome per identificare la nascita di un genere. Ad esempio, dici Kevin Saunderson e subito la mente va a Detroit e alla nascita della techno.
Detroit in the 80s, it was a semi-thriving city. It's still trying to recover from riots that happened in the 60s. So the city itself, you had a city, but not many people. The people come in the daytime to work, and they leave and go out to the suburbs. So everybody live in the suburbs. The city is very sparse, you know. So it was like a ghost town, you know. That's what it was like back then. Musically, it was, I guess it helped us because we had the passion and energy to be creative, maybe because of that. My inspiration for creating or starting this music was the love for music, the love for electronics, being around Juan Atkins and Derek May, experiencing early days, the Paradise Garage, which was a club in New York, that a DJ played there in the van. So I had many inspirations, but I felt like I wanted to do something unique and different and creative. A good DJ must pay attention to his heart, your heart first. You must know, what's here is important, what you feel. And also watch from the past and the present and try to educate yourself on music. And you must know technology in the world of producing today. He must know technology. I have never felt scared of modern technology. It was a excitement. It was a get high. It was my drugs, technology. I do think radio's still important because people are so used to it. But I think stuff like YouTube, and the internet helps give other people other avenues. Because sometimes radio will be too selective on what they play and not really play. They might want to play what everybody else is playing instead of just playing and programming their show for the music. I describe myself as creative, competitive, drive, talented, a lot of willpower. The future is the technology is moving forward, re-inspire and be inspired. That's the future.
Nel backstage del Bug It Out abbiamo scambiato due chiacchiere con Ben UFO, DJ e fondatore della Hustle Sound.
So I'm Ben UFO, I run a label called Hustle Audio. We started about 4 years ago. And we originally started, we didn't really have any pretensions to be anything except a really good dubstep label. The dubstep sound at that point was very dark. It was very sort of half-step focused. And we were being sent a lot of music that kind of harkened back to UK garage and stuff like that. And no one was really releasing music like that, so we thought, well, we're in quite a good position to do that through doing the radio show that we did at that point on DANCELIFE. The music industry, or like specifically the dance music industry, was in the place that it was in 10 or 15 years ago, where people were making serious amounts of money through record sales, and where business was a really big deal. I probably wouldn't be drawn to it as much as I am now. The fact that records aren't selling quite as well as they were almost means that, like, as a record label owner myself, I'm kind of in a position to release much kind of weirder, more experimental, maybe kind of. Basically, I don't really need to worry about how much a record sells because it's never going to sell huge quantities of units anyway. I like physical formats. I listen to vinyl. I've started in the past couple of years buying a lot of cassettes again because a lot of artists that I admire are releasing music on tape just because they again, going back to the point I was making about people not making very much money through music anymore, it's got to a point where if people want to have a physical release at all, they're just doing really limited small runs of stuff and making sure it kind of is presented nicely and kind of, you know, makes people kind of value the physical format.
Il nostro viaggio non è ancora terminato. Tra poco scopriremo la notte londinese entrando in alcuni club e faremo due chiacchiere con i Too Many DJs. DJ Stories è a Londra, alla scoperta della scena elettronica inglese. Siamo stati al Bug It Out Weekender, evento organizzato da una delle più prestigiose serate londinesi.
Hey girls.
Lì abbiamo parlato con i due fratelli terribili dell'elettronica, i Too Many DJs.
Here we go!
My name is David Douala.
Hi, my name is Stefan Douala. I'm his brother, and we're Too Many DJs, and sometimes we're Solwax. I think I fell in love with electronic music when I was 9 or 10 years old, and I heard the Human League, and it blew me away. And I went to see them live as a kid, and I thought it was the hardest, craziest thing I'd ever seen. So that for me was my introduction into electronic music.
For me personally, I started to play music. Yeah, I did stuff. Yeah, it's the second part. I started to play music when I was about 15 because I wanted to play like Jimi Hendrix and Slash. And I bought a guitar. And then from there, you know, we bought some keyboards and a sampler and a computer. And before you know it, you're also making electronic music. I think the industry is in trouble, but music is not in trouble. Industry is in deep shit.
When we make something, we never think of how much will it sell or how will we sell it. I think we found out that kids were so hungry and they downloaded our stuff, not because it was free only, but also because it was faster. We used to go, and I still go to record stores to listen to the music and buy music, but there's a whole generation of kids who have different ways of doing it. They do it through the internet, they do it for free, so their attitudes have changed, you know, like, and I think that's the big difference also. But there's amazing music out there. I mean, the quality of music hasn't necessarily gone down. It's a very exciting time now, but we just don't understand it. It's really good that you can make music without having to listen to what's being played on the radio or anything like that. You could just make music now and just put it out, and you don't have to censor your video for MTV or anything like that. You can do whatever you want. Probably the last 5 years is we're trying to make the blueprint of whatever's going to happen the next 30 years in music or in anything that's entertainment, I think, or like film or anything like that.
Silence is very underrated because it happens so seldomly these days because there's constantly music everywhere in the background.
Lasciato il palco del Bug It Out, siamo tornati a Londra per reimmergerci nella musica della City. Qui i negozi di dischi non mancano, come Phonica Records, oggi anche etichetta discografica e punto di riferimento assoluto per tutti i DJs londinesi e non.
My name's Keith. I've been working at Phonica Records for a few years now. Yeah, you'll normally find me here on a Sunday, just chatting to the regulars, pushing vinyl, funk, soul, jazz to house, techno, you know, dubbed out vibes, a lot of dubstep, UK funky, loads of disco, kind of new edits, stuff that's vinyl only. You know, you consume this stuff on a regular basis, and I think anyone that works in a record store, that's what they love to do. They love to sort of, you know, listen to this music and they want to share it. That's what it's there for. You know, you want other people to be vibing on a track that you like. Phonica label it just started. It was just kind of like a logical progression. You know, so many producers, so many DJs sort of come into the store. They're making their own tracks, they're playing them out. They're getting a great reaction from it. So as we get to know them, and the labels evolved along with sounds of the time and sounds of the club, you know, Bounce to Me, which is one of the early ones that just, you know, skyrocketed, such an amazing tune. Now it's a classic, but at the same time we've got Fortet remixing Bob Holroyd, you know, which is a completely different sound, but it still sounds amazing on the floor and people are, you know, still actively playing that one out. Probably about 3-4 years ago when the MP3 and the CD really hit and, you know, kind of things like Serato and Tractor were coming out, there was a bit of a dip and it was quite sad because record stores and labels alike were closing down left, right and centre. Some labels were only going digital and not pressing vinyl anymore. But for the stores that kind of weathered the storm of what we called, you know, the digital storm, for lack of a better word, it's just been on the upswing ever since. You know, this is one of the best years for vinyl ever. Vinyl will always sound better. So people now who might have been downloading for 3 or 4 years, they want to go back and get that full sound, you know, the full authentic heavyweight sound that you get out of a piece of vinyl.
Una volta capito qual è il sound di Londra, arriva il momento di entrare nei club. Questi gli indirizzi da segnare assolutamente prima di partire per Londra.
Uno dei templi della musica house a Londra è sicuramente il Ministry of Sound. Non meno importante è certamente il Fabric. Nel cuore dell'East End vi consigliamo invece il Queen of Hoxton.
A Londra abbiamo incontrato anche un duo di DJs nostrani che lì vive e lavora. Pubblicano dischi per la Get Physical di Mandy e si chiamano Italo Boys.
Come Italo Boys, come diciamo producing duo, come DJ, siamo nati qua a Londra nel 2003. Abbiamo iniziato a suonare assieme e un paio d'anni dopo abbiamo iniziato a produrre, e quindi è un qualcosa che abbiamo iniziato da qua e poi ha avuto tutto il suo seguito, si è sviluppato, eccetera eccetera.
Stasera suoniamo
all'Ex Ohio.
Suoniamo all'Ex Ohio, che è un nuovo locale a All Street, vicino alla zona di Shoreditch.
Prima volta che suoniamo là, non siamo mai stati, per cui non sappiamo bene cosa aspettarci, però sembra figo, l'ho sentito parlare molto bene. Ha meno di un anno sto locale, da quando hanno aperto, e fanno un sacco di belle cose, per cui good.
Vivendo a Londra ci sono un sacco di negozi di dischi che vendono materiale nuovo e materiale usato, che ti consentono veramente di andare a comprare dischi, e tante volte il prezzo dei dischi è così basso che puoi comprare a caso e eventualmente puoi regalare per beneficenza, e secondo me è un metodo di ricerca veramente efficace. Ho scoperto delle band o dei gruppi o dei dischi, dei singoli allucinanti che non avrei mai avuto maniera di ricercare on internet.
Roba degli anni 90, dei primi 2000, c'è talmente tanto che la ricerca, comunque andare ad ascoltare dischi in negozio rimane comunque una cosa che non è uguale.
La nostra visita di Londra si conclude qui. Il viaggio di DJ Stories alla scoperta delle etichette della musica elettronica è appena cominciato. Settimana prossima saremo a Berlino per entrare al Tresor e incontrare Get Physical, Still Form Talent e B-Pitch. Auf Wiedersehen!